It is one of those questions people either joke about or avoid completely. Not because it's complicated, but because no one actually has a confirmed answer. And yet, somehow everyone has an answer. Some people believe you come back in another life, shaped by everything you've done. Others believe this is your only shot. One life, one judgment, and then eternity. And then there are people who think nothing happens at all. What's interesting is that these aren't just random guesses. Each belief comes from a completely different idea of what you even are. Are you a soul, a body, a stream of thoughts, or just brain activity that eventually shuts off? And depending on how you answer that, the idea of death changes completely. When people ask, where do we go after death? There isn't a single agreed upon answer. Different belief systems approach the question based on their own understanding of what a human being is, and those assumptions shape their own conclusions. At its core, the disagreement isn't about death. It's about whether consciousness is continuous, temporary, temporary, or something entirely separate from the physical body. In traditions like Hinduism and Buddhism, life is seen as a cycle rather than a one time event. A person is born, lives, dies, and is reborn again in a continuous process. This is known as a reincarnation. And what influences the next life is what we call karma. Your actions, your intentions, and your overall behaviors in the present. From this perspective, death is not an end, but a transition. And the long term goal isn't simply to improve future lives, but to eventually break free from the cycle entirely. In Hinduism, this idea is closely tied to the belief in an enduring soul, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, just as a person puts on new garments. Giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies. This suggests continuity of identity across lifetimes. One argument in favor of this view is that it provides a consistent carrier of moral consequences. Something must persist for karma to carry meaning across lives. In Buddhism, approaches the cycle differently. While it also accepts rebirth, it does not rely on permanent and changing soul. It emphasizes a chain of causation. Consciousness continues, but not as a fixed self. A key teaching reflects this direction. The one who is free from craving is not reborn. Here, the focus is less on who you are, continuing, and more on ending the process, like craving and attachment, that sustain the cycle. A key argument within Buddhism is that the sense of permanent self may itself be an illusion, and letting go of that illusion leads to liberation. In contrast, religions like Islam and Christianity view life as linear. You live once and then you are judged, after which your eternal fate is determined. This model emphasizes accountability within a single lifetime rather than across multiple lives. In Islam, the idea of judgment is central. Every soul will taste death. Then to us will you be returned. Whoever does an atom's way of good will see it, and whoever does an atom's way of evil will see it. This reflects a framework where every action carries lasting significance and nothing is lost or repeated in another life. One argument for this view is that it creates a direct and immediate connection between a person's choices and their ultimate outcome, without requiring multiple lifetimes to balance karma. Christianity also teaches judgment and eternal outcomes, but places strong emphasis on resurrection rather than just the continuation of the soul. The dead will be raised imperishable. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal. This introduces the idea that identity includes both body and soul, not just an immaterial essence. One argument here is that It preserves the value of physical existence, suggesting that the body itself is meaningful and not something to be discarded permanently. Judaism, while sharing some similarities, is generally focused on defining the afterlife in detail. Some texts reference resurrection. Many of those who sleep in the dust of earth shall awake. But overall, the emphasis tends to be on living ethically in the present. One interpretation of this approach is that uncertainty about the afterlife shifts attention towards responsibility in the current life rather than speculation about the text. Sorry, speculation about the next. Atheism takes a fundamentally different stance. It does not propose an afterlife. Based on the view that consciousness is produced by the brain, when the brain stops functioning, consciousness ends as well. From this perspective, identity is not something that continues beyond physical process. One argument supporting this view is that all observable evidence of consciousness is tied to the brain activity, and without the activity, there is no measurable basis for continued awareness. There are also informal or philosophical ideas, such as wandering souls or intermediate states, which attempts to explain experiences or intuitions that don't fit neatly into structured doctrines. While not formally established in major religions, these ideas reflect a human tendency to explore possibilities beyond strict frameworks when faced with uncertainty. Ultimately, these perspectives are not just different answers to the same question. They are built on different assumptions about what a human being fundamentally is. If a person is defined as a soul, then continuation makes sense. If a person is defined as a process, then continuity may not require a permanent self. And if a person is defined purely in physical terms, then death naturally marks the end of experience. So rather than leading to one universal answer, the question, what happens after death, reveals something deep: how each belief system defines identity, consciousness, and existence itself. And depending on which framework someone finds most convincing, their understanding of life, meaning, and death can change significantly. If you have any opinion, feel free to comment down below. I'd also like to read your opinions down the comment section below. Thank you for watching.